You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 220. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where we talk about what really happens when you take a break from drinking. And it turns out to be the best thing you've ever done. I'm Anna, coach to high achievers who are done waking up with regret and ready to feel in control around alcohol. If you've ever wondered what your life could look like with less wine and more you, you're in the right place. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. And if you are new to my world, welcome to the shame-free, judgment-free corner of the internet, where I help brilliant people, brilliant high achievers, to drink less or not at all without having to use any kind of labels. All right, so today we're talking about something that I actually think is one of the biggest reasons why people stay stuck when it comes to changing their drinking. And it has nothing to do with willpower, nothing to do with your motivation, and absolutely nothing to do with how much you want to change. Now, before I get into this, if you're listening to this around the time this drops, which is Tuesday, the 7th of April, I have a free live training this Thursday called How to Break the Boredom Drinking Loop. It is free, it is live, you get all your questions answered if you turn up live. And this is for you if you find yourself drinking almost on autopilot in the evenings, not because you plan to, but because boredom just takes over. To grab your spot on this free training, you go to 90dayslater.co/training, and there you'll get the link, you'll get the free link. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. All right, let's talk about those high quality problems. So I want you to picture this. It is a Tuesday evening, an everyday Tuesday evening. It's about 7:30. You aren't particularly stressed. Nothing dramatic has happened, right? The day was fine, but you're in the kitchen and almost without thinking, you open the fridge and you pour a glass of wine. That was me back in the day. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a voice that goes, I didn't really want to do that. Or I don't really want to do this, right? Maybe you even said to yourself this morning, tonight is going to be different. And here you are again. Now that moment, that specific, ordinary Tuesday at 7:30 moment is where I want to start today. Because most people, a lot of people, when that happens, they immediately jump to a big question. I know I used to do this, right? We ask ourselves something like, why do I keep doing this? Why can't I figure this out? Why does nothing ever change? And I want to tell you something important. These questions, they feel kind of good in that they feel like they are problem solving, right? But they are not problem solving. They are problem circling. I want you to imagine you're in an aircraft and you want to land the plane, but instead what you're doing is you're doing all the go-arounds ad infinitum. Right? There is a huge difference between problem solving and problem circling. Here's what I see again and again and again in my coaching work. Someone comes to me and they've been asking themselves the same big, vague questions for months, sometimes years, often years, in fact. Why can't I stop? Why is this so hard? Why do I keep saying I'll cut back and then I don't? Why is this the one area in my life I just can't figure out? And the reason those questions never lead anywhere is because they're not actually looking at problems, right? They're fog. They're fog words. You cannot solve fog. You can only walk around it, right? Feeling more and more lost. Or maybe you're walking through it feeling more and more lost. This is when you get to going round in circles. And if you've driven through a foggy night, you know that sensation. Now, what is actually happening is that you have a very specific, very patterned, very predictable set of moments that are driving your drinking. Tuesday at 7:30, Friday after the kids go to bed, Sunday afternoon when the week ahead feels like, ugh. These are not random times. They follow a pattern. And that pattern is something you can actually work with. I always say, if you are a daily drinker, that is good news. It gives us lots of information and lots of opportunities to experiment and to change the pattern. But as long as you stay up in the clouds asking, why can't I figure this out? You never get down to ground level where the actual thing is happening, where you're going to get the information you need. So let's ask, why do we stay vague? Why do we keep circling the big question instead of getting specific? Well, it's an easy answer, because getting specific feels scary. If you name the exact problem, I pour a drink at 7:30 on weeknights when I'm bored and the kids are in bed and the day is over and I don't know what to do with myself, then you actually have to look at it. And you might feel terrible looking at this. So many people do. We feel ashamed, we feel judged, we feel embarrassed. How did I let it get to this, right? So if you name it, you're there, it's out in the open and you're sitting with it. You're going to have to do something about it. It's kind of right in your face, right? It feels very uncomfortable. Whereas vague problems, they kind of let you off the hook. Vague problems mean you're trying, you're thinking about it, you care, but you never quite have to get to the part where you actually change something, where you actually do anything. Here's what I call this. I call this the difference between a low quality problem and a high quality problem. A low quality problem sounds like this. Why do I keep drinking when I don't want to? A high quality problem sounds like this. Every Tuesday and every Thursday evenings between 7 and 8 p.m. when I'm tired and bored and there's nothing specific to do, I drink out of habit, and it's the transition from the day being over to the evening starting that I don't know how to handle. Do you feel the difference? The second one is specific enough that you can actually do something with it. The first one, you could ask that forever and never move. And in fact, that's what so many of us do, or did, before you came across me in this podcast episode. Listen, when you define a problem well, you are already halfway to the solution. That's how I like to think about it. That is not just a nice idea. That is literally how the brain works. A vague question produces a vague answer. And if you're old enough to remember back in the 80s, 90s, the computer acronym, GIGO, I think it was, right? Garbage in, garbage out. It's a similar thing. Ask a vague question, get a vague answer. A precise question produces a precise answer. And a precise answer doesn't have to be the right answer. A precise answer gives you something that you can deploy immediately. All right, so here is what I want you to do this week. You know I like to give homework. This is one thing I want you to do this week. I want you to pick one drinking moment, not all of them, not every day, not all the different ways it shows up, just one. Maybe the one that bothers you the most or the one that happens most often. I don't really mind, just one. And I want you to write it down in as much detail as you can. You can pause the podcast right now and write that out. All right, not I drink too much in the evenings. That is fog. We want specifics. So answer things like, what time is it? What were you doing in the hour before? What does the feeling in your body feel like when the craving comes? What is the thought that comes just before you go to pour the drink? Is it boredom? Is it restlessness? Is it that the day is done and you don't know how to switch off? Is it that the evening feels empty and the drink fills that gap? Is it that you're tired but not tired enough to sleep and wine is just the one thing that gets you to sleep? Get it all down. Be ruthlessly specific. Name the problem like a scientist, not like someone who is judging themselves, not like someone who is staying vague. Because once you have done that, once you have a clearly defined specific real problem in front of you, then you can start solving it. Not all of it, just one bit of it. What is the one tiny thing you could do differently in that exact layout of the problem? All right? We're not overhauling the whole thing. This is not a whole new evening routine. This is just one thing. Maybe it's making a cup of tea first and sitting with that and seeing what will happen. Maybe it's going for a 10-minute walk at 6:45 before the urge kicks in. Maybe it's sitting and looking, see what actually do I want here? Am I looking for rest? Am I looking for stimulation, for something else? Right? What is it? You pick one thing, you try it, you see what you learn, and then you solve the next small bit. This is how change happens. This is how real change happens. I mean, think back to when you were learning to write. This is what you did, bit by bit, day by day. We don't change in one giant leap. It feels way too much, and especially with something that is so connected to our identity, to how we see ourselves, to our behavior. We cannot do the overhaul all in one go, and it won't stick. It'll be a temporary fix. A series of small, precise, well-defined problems that you solve one at a time and then move on from is how we change our identity. That is what I mean by high-quality problems. You're not going to spend the next 6 months asking, why is this so hard? You're going to spend the next week figuring out exactly what is happening at 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. And you are going to make one small change. And that problem will stop being your problem. Then you move on to the next one. This is much more interesting than sitting with the same old boring old problems. This is the work I do with my clients. We do not circle. We identify, we solve, we move. We identify, we solve, we move. Keep going, keep going. And the reason it works is because you are finally treating yourself like someone whose problems are worth solving properly, right? We kind of have this belief that we know we're solving this for the last time. So I want you to try that before next week's episode. Pick one moment, write it down with full specifics, define the problem, right, in a good way. And if you want help actually doing this, if you want someone in your corner helping you to identify again and again and again and again what's actually driving your drinking and building a precise, personalized plan to change it, because there will be multiples of these problems, of these reasons buried, believe you me, it's what I see all the time. If you want help figuring that out, book a call with me. A consultation call is free. It's where we get to talk properly, just the two of us, confidentially, about what's going on for you and whether working together makes sense. I will build for you the exact path to get you to your goal. You can find the link at 90dayslater.co. It's right there on the homepage, the book a call box. And don't forget, if you're ready to tackle the boredom piece specifically, if that's a problem you're dealing with, you want to make it a high quality problem, my free training this Thursday is called How to Break the Boredom Drinking Loop. Go to 90dayslater.co/training and you can register there. All right. Thank you for listening. I will see you next week. If this episode hit home and you're ready to explore what life could look like with alcohol in the back seat, let's talk. I work with people one-on-one who are ready to create the relationship with alcohol that works for them, so they feel powerful in their choices and at peace with their habits. Go to 90dayslater.co and click on book a call, or grab one of the free guides in the show notes to this episode. And if this podcast is helping you, a rating or review goes a long way to help others find this work too.